Alright, welcome back with another project. This is a Wheeler 7790 from Sunup Cycles donation. Shout out Toby, thanks for this. And it's aluminum frame. It has pretty thick tubing, super fat, and it's got these massive welds on it, super strong, but yeah, really cool paint. Black splattered paint job with kind of like a blue and purple graphics. Also has this little sticker on it. Looks like a German or Dutch bike shop. And the only thing I got to sort out is it has a 1 1/4 head tube size, so bigger than usual, kind of like a rare size, but hopefully I can get some cups that allows me to run a 1 1/8 fork. And then here comes the little seat post clamp here, Shimano, and then a seat post. So yeah, I'm gonna put up a picture of what it originally looks like. It's pretty cool. Gonna keep it rigid, I think. We'll see how we go with the shocks. I think it was designed for a rigid fork. But yeah, first thing I need to do is tap out these cups. I'm going to use a 1 1/8 headset remover tool, and hopefully that should do it. And then that way I can measure the inside. It should be 37mm instead of 34, and then I can order some cups. Just a little bit of penetrating oil in here. I think it's rust buster maybe, but yeah, it just helps loosen the cups a little bit. Originally I didn't know if this tool would work because it's made for a small headset cup size, but yeah, only one way to find out. It did snap in pretty well, so it's pretty promising. But yeah, after a couple of taps, it came out, no issues. So yeah, pretty stoked on that. And then just did the same thing with the top one, just like that. Alright, that's all tapped out. You can hold on to the cups if you want to save them, but there's no bits for this one. So yeah, pretty easy. So yeah, let's measure it. So yeah, it seems like it's 36.5. I'm sure if I spread it out a bit, it'll be almost 37. Alright, so I can order some cups. So yeah, regarding these cups, there was only one place in Australia that sold them, so hopefully I don't have to order them from overseas just to save a little bit on shipping or whatever. But yeah, put the order through and hopefully they come in time. And then here, just cleaning up the frame, just using a detergent water spray. Just give it a once over, keep it fresh. Alright, frame's looking pretty good. I just want to clean up these little scratches a little bit. You can see on top tube, on the side here, and then on the frame, the chain stay or seat stay. You know, won't fix the scratches or whatever, but giving it a little bit of T-cut will give it a once over. Should look pretty good. So yeah, see how that goes. T-cut's basically a polish, like the best way to explain it, it's like a liquid sandpaper. It has a very fine abrasive on it, and what it does is takes off the top coat or a very fine layer of the clear coat and kind of just refreshes it a little bit, stops it from oxidizing anymore. Has other chemicals in it that help it do that. But yeah, usually works pretty well for me. You can see it helps get rid of these black marks pretty easy from what you probably couldn't do with a paper towel and detergent. And then you put it on, wipe it down a bit, and then spray it with water, and then wipe it down again to make sure you get rid of all the residue. And this is what it looks like after. Puts a little bit of shine on it. I think it looks pretty good. I think some people you can also wax over it just to protect it a little bit more. But yeah, usually this works fine for me. T-cut's also labeled as a color restorer, and I think it gets rid of the cloudiness, but I don't know how much of the color it actually restored on this frame, so yeah, I guess sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, these finally came today and I'm stoked. So yeah, long story, basically I tried to order some in Australia and they got lost in the post for like 3 weeks. And then Toasty Rides was able to hook me up, so big thank you Toasty Rides. He sent these all the way from New Zealand. So we're finally able to get the bike going again. And then this is just a headset I got, just a generic one. This is how it works. It basically, you put this into the head tube and then the cup goes on top. So it should be a nice fit. Yeah, it's pretty funny actually because Toby, when he gave me the frame, he was like, oh, hopefully I didn't stitch you up. But yeah, it turns out it's pretty hard to get these cups. Thanks, Toby. But yeah, if you're in North America or Europe or any place close to other countries, it's probably be a little bit easier to get just because you have more shipping options. So yeah, basically gave the cups a clean and started installing them. Just put a little bit of grease to make sure they sit in, and they fit in super nicely, so we're stoked on that. Wasn't loose or anything, just using DIY headset cup press. And then here just putting the headset on, just do one cup at a time. I find that easier. and then yeah, went on sweet. Can't believe it took so long to finally get this on, but yeah, it took like a few weeks for it to get lost in the mail, and then a few weeks for Toasty to send, and then I was busy or whatever, but yeah, got that to end. Alright, here's the fork. This is just a generic fork, but it has canties, so that's what I'm gonna run on the back. But yeah, just black. Just installing the crown race here. This crown race has a little gap, so yeah, it makes it pretty easy to install. You can kind of just push it on. I also did give it a little bit of clean before I installed that, just to make sure it'll sit nice. And then here, just putting the fork in. Don't forget to put that little washer in, and then the little cap that covers it. Alright, looking pretty good. I like the black forks with the pink frame. Nice little contrast. I could paint the forks, but I'll probably just leave it for now. Alright, forks on. Looking pretty sweet, I think. Finally can get this running again. Alright, these are the wheels I got. These are just 26 number 5 orange rims to a Sarah, basically. Not bad. It's been pretty nice already, so I think the bearings might be good to go, but we'll see how we go. And I'm just going to give a clean up, take off this cassette, chuck some other tires on. These are the tires I'm putting on. These are just kind of Rapid Bobs 2.25. This is the tread right here. So pretty shallow, should be pretty good for rolling. Got your larger knobs on the side. Just taking off the cassette here, gotta remove the skewer, and then put the cassette removal tool in there. It was feeling quite shallow, as in the tool doesn't sit in there that deep, so if I crank it too hard, it's gonna slip out. I decided to not take the risk and actually just remove the axle to give myself a little bit more room. Otherwise, yeah, I might have a stuck cassette. So yeah, I ended up just winding it off from the other side, and be careful not to lose any bearings. You can see here on the other side of the axle, someone actually put in an extra spacer that's not meant to be there, like a fatter washer, and that was stopping the tool from going down all the way. But here I ended up taking out all the bearings anyway, just so I could kind of crank down on this without it worrying the bearings going everywhere. But yeah, after the tool was in, it came off pretty easy, so I was stoked on that. Wasn't like welded shut in there. Yeah, sometimes with old bikes it's like this. You think you can just take off a cassette and it should be done, but yeah, there's always kind of issues. But I ended up cleaning out all the cups in there, getting all the gunk out, just giving it a nice once over. Since I got all the bearings out already, I decided that I'm gonna replace the bearings and give it a fresh re-grease, and then here just giving it a nice clean. Alright, all the bearings are out, and you can see that some of them are not really a sphere, so kind of lost their shape a little bit oblong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all these. Another way you can tell is if they're shiny, but yeah, these are kind of dull and out of shape. Before I replace the bearings, I decided to give it clean right now since I got the bearings out, and I just used this detergent and water spray again. I think there's a little bit of soap in there, but it works real well. And I just use a nylon brush to kind of brush it all the way around, get rid of all the old gunk, and then use a nylon brush to kind of brush the hub a little bit, and then just spray it down with a little pressure pump. You can just get the pressure pump from Bunnings if you're keen on that. And then you can also clean the rims with brake cleaner after to make sure you don't have any residue. Alright, looking pretty fresh. Decided to clean the rims at the same time. Alright, now giving the axle a little bit of clean. I just used WD-40 and a nylon brush, brush it all in there, try and clean as much of the gunk out as you can. And then I ended up trying to take this washer off the other side, but it was like super hard. So I'm going to have to see what I can do with this one. Alright, so I couldn't get this off. I also realized it was kind of being filed down a little bit as well. So I'm going to just try to put this on here and see how it works. So I ended up just running this securing cap for the single speed kit in here just to make sure if it goes deep enough it's going to work, and you can see on the tool it does work. So ideally what I'm going to do is just install the bearings and put everything together, and I should be able to space it out with the spacers. The thing is, I'm not really going to know until I put the bearings in and push it up against the bearings. So I decided to just rehold the whole hub anyway and push everything in. You can see here I'm putting fresh grease in, make sure you pack it up, And then here putting the axle in, pretty sweet. Now it's going to spin sweet, and then just doing the other side, same thing. Pack it up with grease. I'm just using general purpose grease. The brand is called Red Devil grease, and yeah, it works well for bearings. And then the bearings, I got to replace them stainless steel, so the magnet doesn't work, so I had to put them in just manually. But hopefully the stainless steel bearings help it from rusting. And I'm putting all the washers back on. This is how it goes on, and you just want to do it up finger tight for now before you tighten it. The bigger space actually goes on the outside here, but yeah, I fix it later. But yeah, anyway, what you want to do is tighten it up so it spins smoothly, but there's no play in the axle, so you just tie it up slowly, give it a spin, make sure there's no play in the axle, and keep repeating this process until it spins smooth. But yeah, it can take a little bit, but just yeah, take your time and then you'll get it. Here, and I'm putting a little cap back on. You can see why the bigger spacer goes on the outside now, to keep that cap from slipping off. But yeah, bearings are in there, axle's feeling good, so time to sort out this spacer issue. So yeah, I think I just chucked it on, and basically I just added a little bit of a bigger spacer to add a couple more millimeters, so when I put it down it gives me enough room to tighten. And I just did a finger tight for now, but you can see it still goes in pretty deep, so it should be more than enough. So yeah, I was happy with how that turned out. And then here, just cleaning the front one again, just getting rid of some rust. The bearings were spinning fine on the front, so I decided just to keep them as is. I'm sure some people will say, oh, you're doing the back, why don't you do the front now? Because because it was fine, so I didn't. But yeah, some people, if you want to, you can do it. But yeah, that was looking good too. Alright, wheels looking pretty fresh. I'm just chucking the tires on. Alright, this is the crank set I'm going to put on. Shout out Tim. This is a Ride XC race face crank set, and it takes a ISIS bottom bracket. This bottom bracket can do 68 or 73 shells. If you do 73, you just take out the spacer, and yeah, you just measure the width of your bottom bracket and then fit it. And the chainring I'm going to run up front is this 38, so I've got 38, 16 on the back. I think it's should be pretty good. I've run it like that before. I think I did a 40, 18 before, so this should be alright. And then I'm going to put this on as well. This is just a chain guard or 104 BCD to fit this. I think that should look pretty cool, and to keep your pants from ripping out. So yeah, I'll give these a clean. I think bottom bracket and these are pretty clean already. I just got to clean this up, take off the small ring, and we should be good. Just taking the ring off the back. I think these old race face cranks look pretty cool. I think there's a few other ones that are similar too. And yeah, these were pretty light as well, surprisingly. But yeah, they have a super hard anodized finish or painted finish on it, so the dirt came off real easy. And then just giving it a wash in hot water, hot soapy water, not too much to it, just detergent. Give it a brush up with the nylon brush, a big fat one. Just be careful when you're scrubbing them, be careful of the graphics. It really depends on what company cranks they are, but these were the way they put these race face logos on. They're like super solid, so I didn't have to worry about it too much. And then here I'm going to run the bash guard on the outside and chainring on the inside. And for some reason I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get it to fit on. Alright, so you can see the reason why it doesn't fit is because one side is raised more. This is 104 BCD, of course. But yeah, I think they do it so you got to buy the rings. But yeah, I'm just going to file this down. Some people also file the inside of the chainring, but yeah, I'm just going to go full crank. Darren also gave me a tip. If you have the old ring, you can just bolt it onto the new ring, and then it'll act as a guide to kind of like grind down exactly what you need. I don't have the old ring, so I can't do that. Yeah, kind of annoying when companies do this, but I think it's to stop people from putting the wrong ring on the inside. But then, yeah, you don't really allow for that much customization. But yeah, no matter, I'm just going to file the cranks down. I end up using a hacksaw because it's going to be a little bit quicker. You just put the blade of the hacksaw down and hacksaw away. Some people use a Dremel, but I don't have one, so I just basically use a hacksaw and file. Just take your time and go slow, and yeah, it should work out. If you don't go fast, you'll be fine. Alright, that's one. Wasn't too bad actually with the hacksaw. I got it pretty close. Just use this as a guide. I'm sure there'll be some fine tuning once I put the rings on. But yeah, I'm going to do the others and then see how we go. I basically just sped it up, but I think the hardest thing was actually just trying to hold the crank. If you have a vise or something, it would probably make it way easier. So I just used the outside as a guide, and I'd use the hacksaw, file down as close as I could, and then use the file just to finish it off. And then yeah, just use a little sanding block to kind of finish it over. Alright, first fitting, let's see how it goes. Oh, pretty close I think. Alright, so I think I need to take a little bit more on these two sides, but yeah, we're basically there. Alright, second fitting. Alright, tiny bit more right here. Okay, third fitting. Fourth fitting. Alright, I think that's done it. So yeah, it took a little bit more refinement than I thought it would be, but yeah, got that end, and I think the race guard bash plate looks really good with the race face cranks. So yeah, definitely worth it. And then I can run the other ring on the inside. Obviously, if you didn't want to do this, you could just run the ring on the outside without the bash guard, but yeah, I really want to use the bash guard. Alright, so the bike's coming together pretty nicely. I'm going to throw on the cranks now, since it was already to go, and a little bit of grease in there. Make sure you clean the threads first. I just used a wire brush and WD-40 and just grease it up. Here's the race face ISIS button bracket, and just take that washer off. This cup actually comes off on the drive side, so I screw that in first, just hand screw it, and then put the tool on, use the hand, screw it in as far as you can, and then use the wrench. I don't screw it in super tight yet until I get the other side in, because I feel like that helps you align it a little bit better before you crank down on it. And then here's the same on the other side. I just went super slow on this one, kind of back and forth, because remember the plastic shell broke in here, so I just wanted to make sure it's seating the threads correctly. And then yeah, end up working pretty well. If you go slow, usually things tend not to break as much, but you can see, yeah, it was kind of fit in there really snugly. And then I flip the bike around, and now I'm tightening up the other side just when I go pretty tight. So that's, and then check the other side again. So yeah, that's all good. I'm putting the crank arm on, just put grease on. The ISIS is just, you gotta line up the splines and put it on. There's not too much to it. Screws on kind of just like a normal square taper crank. Just screw the bolt in, make sure it's nice and tight. And then same with the other side. Make sure you grease it up so you can get it off. And then yeah, I think with the splines here, you just gotta make sure you line it up so it's both even. These have more splines, but yeah, you should be able to line it up. And then here I'm just giving it a spin to see how far the crank arms are from the chainstay, and it turns out they're a little bit different. Alright, just chuck the crank on, and you can see a gap is quite big over here. So I think what I'm gonna do is put the spacer in after all. It's pretty funny, after all that, the spacer goes in anyway. It's funny because on the bottom bracket itself, it tells you that you don't need the spacer if it's a 73 with BB, but yeah, basically you do. The good thing is I can show you how to take off ISIS cranks. So there's a little bit in the end of the crank remover tool that you got to flip before you take it out. It's a little bit larger, and that pushes on the axle. Make sure you switch this around before you wind it down, otherwise you're going to screw up your threads. So yeah, this allowed me to put this spacer back on, and yeah, you basically have to take off both cranks because you're going to have to tighten back the other side as well. So here I just tightened the right hand drive side, remember it's reverse thread, and then after that I can tighten the non-drive side, which is just clockwise. So that's looking good. The BB cap sits all the way in, and then put on the crank, same as before, crank it down so it's nice and tight. You'll get to a point where it stops naturally. Don't go any further when it stops naturally because you'll just wreck it. And then and then here, yeah, all done. Alright, pretty happy with that. You can see now it's a little bit more even, so I think that was definitely worth it. Alright, cranks are on, spinning nicely, pretty happy with that. And then here with the seat post clamp, what I want to do, you can see some oxidization or just corrosion on the seat post clamp, so I just want to give it a nice clean. Same with the little lever there. And then just going to use a little bit of WD-40, see if I can brush it off. And with the seat post clamp, I couldn't, or the seat post collar, I couldn't really get it off, so I decided I'm going to post sand it all the way down. And then with the lever, I just used WD-40 and a wire brush and some foil, got rid of most of the rust. It has a little bit of pitting, so I'm not going to get rid of all of it, but yeah, basically just do what you can, and it looks better than before, I think. Still pretty fresh. And then here, I'm just cleaning up the other parts, putting that back together. And then what I'm going to do is, I decided I'm just going to strip the paint using this paint stripper. And that will take a lot of the work rather than trying to sand the whole thing all the way down. With this, make sure you wear gloves. I've been real careful not to get it on my skin or anything, so yeah, make sure you wear gloves when you do it and try not to breathe in the fumes. They're really bad for you. But here's after maybe 20 minutes, I wrapped it in foil to make it work a little bit harder, but you can see all the paint starting to come off already. Sometimes it depends on the paint, but the paint of this seat collar was really thin, so it came off real easy. Sometimes when you have really thick paint, sometimes it might take a few goes before it comes off. But yeah, that was basically all off. Gave it a rinse, gave it clean, and then just buffed it up on the drill press. That got rid of basically the final paint. And then here, just giving it a final sand. Some of the paint didn't come off, so I had to sand it or wire brush it off. And then just use a little bit of sandpaper just to clean it up, just wet and dry, 600. But yeah, I think looking pretty fresh after that. It took a little bit of work, but I think it was worth it. And then here, gonna chuck it on by cleaning out the seat tube. I just use a little bit of WD-40 and an old rag, just stuff it in as tight as you can and then pull it out, and it's usually pretty clean like that. And then here, adding a little bit of grease with the seat post clamp, so make sure it doesn't corrode in future. And that's fitting pretty good. Clean off all the extra grease. And then here, yeah, putting on the lever. I actually don't know if I'm going to run this lever. If it's just kind of like my get-around bike, I might end up changing it just to bolt it so no one can, yeah, steal your seat and saddle, your post and saddle. But I might leave it on for now just to get the right height, perfect height, and then I'll switch it out after with just a bolt. But here, yeah, just putting it in, fits pretty good. Just make sure you loosen your seat post clamp, of course. And then this seat post has little measurements on the back, so I'll be able to get the right height. And then, yeah, give it a final clean. Alright, there we go. Looking pretty good. Alright, just gotta line up the chain. So yeah, usually just chuck a tape measure on. Yeah, just use a tape measure, and you can do it on either on the outside or the inside of the chainring, and just get as straight as you can. Usually looking down from top helps, so you can get it pretty straight. And then I'm holding the tape measure and the camera here in the other hand, so it was a little bit tricky to show you, but basically I just need to move one spacer over. So I just swap that out, same thing again, just take it off. Since I only hand tightened the hub on there, the single speed spacers, I could easily just undo it. And then yeah, just double check to make sure it's straight. And yeah, if you eyeball it, it should be pretty close. You can eyeball it from the top, bottom, left and right, and it should be good. Here, chucking on this chain tensioner is basically, I think it looks like a swirly one, but it doesn't have the graphics on it. But there's a little pin that's on the end there, and what you want to do is to have that on your hanger. So that's going to help you create the tension. I think these ones you can also adjust the tension if you have a wrench as well. But I just installed it on like this, and then the tension ended up being pretty good, pretty solid. So I decided to run it like this. And then what you want to do is align the cog to your other cog, or the pulley to your recassette cog, and that should be straight. And then here, forgot to clean up these skewers, so just giving these a clean with some WD-40 and a wire brush. This actually took a little bit longer than I expected. I used foil as well, but I ended up having to use some wet and dry sandpaper for one of the skewers because the rust was on there so harshly. And then just if you're using sandpaper, just make sure you take your time and don't go too hard on it. But yeah, those were cleaned up, and then just putting a little bit of grease, chucking them on. Grease also helps protect it from rust a little bit, so hopefully these run alright. And then just same with the front one. And yeah, we're kind of getting pretty close. Alright, just chucking the chain on. I already had an old single speed chain that's not in too bad condition. It's basically pretty new, so I'm going to chuck it on here. And to size it, you just put it around the front one, and the rear one bypass this, and just go kind of as tight as you can. You can see this one's already kind of cut to the right length. Just like that. I'm going to add a quick link in there, and it should be perfect. So now you thread it through the pulley. I take it off the front chainring to get a little bit, make it a little bit easier, and then you just loop it around. I couldn't loop it back around the front chainring, so I had to take it off the back cog and then re-loop it around that way, but yeah, that ended up being pretty easy. And then you want a little bit of slack in your chain, about, people say like 1 inch movement up and down, but you can adjust accordingly. But then yeah, once I put on the chain, the hub was sounding real weird for some reason, and I think this is basically the free body hub that's making this noise. And now I'm kicking myself, because when I took apart the back hub, I was like, oh, should I take apart the free body and give it a clean? But I never did it, because I thought it'd be fine, and sometimes you don't realize till you chuck it on the bike to see what it sounds like. But yeah, you can see it sounds pretty terrible. So I could run it like this, but I figure, why not? Why not fix it? Gotta do it right, gotta fix it up. So yeah, chuck it back on the stand. And then here, same process again, taking off the single speed kit, and you can see it has enough room for the tool, which is good. And then at least it'll give me a chance to switch out these spacers again, put the fat spacer on the outside. But once again, yeah, you got to do this, be careful of the bearings. And to take the free hub body off, you just use a 10mm Allen wrench and just unwind it anti-clockwise. Should come out. Make sure you don't lose any bearings, because these are the new bearings in there. Yeah, but it just looks just like that. And then you just tap all the bearings out. Make sure the bearings, there's no bearings stuck inside the cylinder or the hub. But yeah, that little cylinder bit comes out, and then just give everything a little bit of wipe down before I start to flush it out. There's this little washer or cap thing that comes that you can take off, just silicone. And I just use a little seal pick tool, shout out Big Bike. And then what I'm going to do is put WD-40 in here and just kind of just like flush it out and rinse it out, and hopefully it's better. You can replace the bearings in here, but you need to, I think you need a special tool to kind of take it apart. So I'm just doing what I can with the tools that I have, and hopefully it'll be better. It's sounding pretty rough, but you know, you can only do what you can do. And then I basically just flushed out WD-40. I used a little soap and water to flush it out as well, just to get all the gunk out. Keep spinning it round and round and round and round. Make sure everything's out. Try and clean it out as best you can. And then yeah, just repeat the process. I think some people, you can soak the whole hub in like a solvent or something. I think some people do that as well, but I think this will be this is pretty satisfactory for me. But yeah, after it's all done, just let it dry out. I cleaned this other little washer cap thing, just get all the crud off it, nice and clean, using the seal pick tool again, and that's looking 100% fresh. And then just want to show you can actually switch out the hub. If your hub's really busted, the free body hub, you can switch it out if it has the same pattern. But you can see the one on the right here has a little bit of a different style free hub body on how the cogs go on, and I don't have those cogs, so I'm just going to keep this one. Alright, it's all dry, nice and clean, and just clean that, just gave it a wipe down, not too much to it. But yeah, I don't know how well this is going to go, but at least gave it a shot. We'll see how it goes once we chuck it back on. And then here's all fresh, so you're just going to pump grease into it. I know people say you should use like a thick oil or whatever, but this is all I have, so sometimes you just got to use what you have. And I figure, you know, I use these bearings, use this grease for bearings, so these are bearings too. So it can't be, you know, it can't be terrible for it. But yeah, I basically just try to put as much grease as I can in, and when you spin it, it kind of like sucks the grease in as well. So after you do that, if you need to, you can reapply a little bit more. But once it's packed out, you just put this little washer back on, the little cover, and hopefully it's better now. I just gave it a quick spin on this and it feels a little bit better, so you never know till you put the wheel on. And then what you do is just basically put this little cylinder bolt back in, wind it down clockwise, do it up tight, and then it's the same process as before. Putting the grease on, chucking the bearings in. The bearings are 9 to each side, and just make sure you top it up with grease as well. Should be a little bit easier now because I've done it one time, but yeah, just repeat the process. You can see this fat washer goes on the outside. I got to fix that, which is great, and you can see, yeah, putting this cover on actually locks in now, so that's a good thing. And then checking on the single speed kit, putting the back wheel in, and then yeah, the moment of the truth, I get to try it out, see if it works. So yeah, pretty happy with that. It sounds way better than before. Sometimes when you do these things, you don't even know if it's going to work or if it's going to be any better. But yeah, I'm glad I did it, and when it works, it actually pays off. Feels pretty good. Alright, I'm about to chuck on the bars and the stem, and I realized I need to put a star nut in. I forgot to put that in, and I decided that I'm just going to run it. I'm just going to run it max length, just so I can run the stem up pretty high and yeah, make it pretty cruisy. And here I'm just installing the star nut, just freestyle, just make sure you don't squash your fingers. I should really get a tool to install this just to make it a little bit easier, but yeah, not too much to it. You just put an old bolt in and then just bang it down, try to get as straight as possible. So that's looking pretty good, and just putting the headset, or putting the fork back in, don't forget the bearing and the little washer in the top cap, putting the wheel back on. Here I'm just showing you the two different cable hangers you can get. So one kind of tapers in a little bit on the left hand side, and the other one is more straight up and down, kind of like a rectangle. So the more rectangle one, the good thing about it is when you put it on, it kind of sits all the way down, sits all the way flush, and it clears the headset depending on what type of headset you have. So that's easy to go. And then the other one, the tapered one, I think it's a little bit slimmer, but you got to run a spacer depending on what headset. You can see how it kind of like hits it. So you got to run like a 5mm or 4mm or something like that. Not sure if people care too much about that, but it's in here. Alright, these are the bars I'm chucking on. These are moth bars by Magic Components. Pretty sick. And then just running a specialized stem. I think it's like 100, 105. So yeah, just chucking this on. I decided to run the stem upside down because I think it looks a little bit better when it matches the top tube. And yeah, that's kind of why I kept the steerer so high, so I can kind of run it up pretty high. And if you want your stem to perfectly align with the top tube, you can measure your head tube and see how much angle you need. I think this stem is like -17, but I probably need something like a 20 or something. But yeah, it's not too bad. I think it still looks pretty good. And then just, yeah, spaced it out with the thin fat spacers. I think overall that looks pretty neat. Alright, so I know I was going to put on Canty brakes, but I decided to put V brakes on. I think this will match the crankset a little bit better. So yeah, I just got these secondhand, but I think when buying V brakes, just make sure you have some of the spare parts, so like bolts, brake pads, and the noodles. Otherwise, could be a little bit of a pain trying to get it set up. But yeah, luckily I have a lot of spare parts, so I was able to find a few things. And yeah, just kind of clean these up. There's some stickers on here. I think a lot of people leave these leave the warning stickers on for some reason. I like to take them off just because, I don't know, it looks a little bit better, I think. And then yeah, just soapy water, nylon brush, and just clean it up. I usually clean the brake pads separate. I take them off before I clean the other arms. And that way you can just clean them with brake cleaner, so there's no oils or anything on the brake pads that may cause it to squeak. And if you want, you can also do a once over with your rims with brake cleaner, and that will get rid of any oils on your rims as well. Yeah, if you have squeaking issues, that could be the cause. And while we're on the subject, if you've done all that and it's still squeaking, you might need to add a little bit of toe to your brake pads, which basically angles one side up a little bit higher than the other side. And that allows for more of a transitional contact when your brake pad hits the rim. So yeah, just installing the brakes, no brainer here. I usually just use the middle hole for the spring tension, and you just want them to kind of spring back a little bit, and a little bit of grease on the boss heads as well. I realized my rim wasn't straight here, so I want to straighten it up first and see kind of what goes in and out here a little bit. So before I put the brake pads on, I just trued it as best I could. You see, looking pretty good now. I just use a little bit of tape. People use zip ties and stuff as well, but I just had a piece of tape, so that was pretty easy. Alright, even before you put on the brake pads, you can try and line up your brake arms basically. You can see I'm pushing just slight pressure on each side, but this one is a lot straighter, and then this one has more pressure. So I'm gonna unwind this bolt right here to relieve some of the pressure, just to get a bit more even before I start. There you go, that's about done, and you can see how they're basically, if I can line up straight, yeah, a bit more even on both sides. Putting on the brake pads here, and just make sure it sits between these two concave washers. I can't tell you how many bikes I have gotten and the brake pads were in the wrong position, which means they'll be at kind of like a funny angle and won't work as nice. But yeah, just make sure they're in the middle of the two concave washers, and then yeah, just put them flush to the rim, or you can add a little toe in. Usually I just eyeball it, or you can use a little spacer between the rim and the brake pad to get that angle. So yeah, because I'm putting on V-brakes, I am going to take off the little canty cable hanger. Yeah, after explaining it all, but hopefully it helps people out, so I just leave it in. But here I'm putting the stem on kind of like the highest I would run it, so that when I lace up the cables, it's going to give me the option of moving the stem up and down without it getting too tight on the cables and housing. So yeah, if you tend to switch up your bars a lot, it might be helpful to run your cables just slightly longer. That way you can kind of switch your bars and have no issues there. So yeah, after I lace it up, I'll probably move it back down, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then here I was just making sure the levers were the right angle, just go over the bike and just make sure it's comfortable. Cutting the housing, just make sure they're long enough so when you turn the bars, they're not pulling on the housing. And then yeah, just putting the brake cable in, make sure your housing is clear. You can use a little spoke just to clear it out. And some people add, you can add a drop of bike lube, synthetic bike lube in there, just to keep it sliding nice and smooth. Okay, so when I laced it up, I realized the wheel was dished to one side. You can see it's got more space on this side and tighter on this side. So I had to go back in and basically re-dish the wheel, and that's just basically tightening up one side of the spokes and loosening the other. And then yeah, just make sure you squeeze all the spokes to get all the tension out. It takes a little bit, but yeah, I think it's worth it just to get the brake pads and the wheel more centered within the forks. So yeah, I'm not sure why it's like that, but when you do it, just make sure your axle's in there nice and tight, and you can see it's all done now. Alright, so the only brake cable I have left, it's a road one. So they usually look like that, it's like a little disc. But yeah, depending on the brakes, some of them still work. So yeah, here we go. You can see, get stuck there pretty decent. Pretty good, that's not going nowhere. So when I was lacing up the brake cable, I realized the road cables are slightly shorter, so I had to run my housing on the inside. It's not a big deal, but I just ended up doing that just so the cable would reach. And laced up the back brake, same thing, just make sure the wheel spins and clears. Sometimes it takes a little bit of adjusting. I found these little brake Faru things, so I'm going to chuck them on. It has a little extension, and I think it makes it look pretty clean, straightens the cable within the little hold, and maybe slides a little bit better. Alright, just going to chuck on these Burtech pedals. Wanted to try these for a little bit. Pretty good looking. These, you can see the size compared to the Stamp 3. They're a bit bigger. And yeah, the Stamp 3 pedals gone really well. I ended up putting those back on my Kona, super light and super strong. Good size for me as well. These are a little bit bigger, so I'll see how they go. But yeah, a wider platform probably good for commuting around and just standing on the bike. But yeah, just put the pedals on, not too much to it, just a little bit of grease, and that was done. And then chucking on my favorite saddle, just like this, turbo, and it's just slammed forward. And then here, putting the bars down again, just a little bit. And here the grips I'm just chucking on, they're just foam ones. So yeah, I tried putting these on with zip ties, and the hole was kind of too small. So I ended up just using water and squeezing them on. And just putting the cap on. Water usually works pretty well for me here in Australia because it's so hot, dries out pretty quick. If you live in a cold climate, you might want to use isopropyl alcohol, basically anything that dries out. And then yeah, just give it a clean, does the last thing, and here's the final bike. Pretty stoked on this build. I think it came together pretty nicely with all the parts and stuff, and you can see it's super solid. Ride's pretty sweet. Shout out Toby, Tim for donating parts of this build. Thank you to people who bought stickers, shirts, and anything else. Much appreciated. Thank you everyone for the support. Hope you liked the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.